Hello, everybody. Welcome to Drunk with Questions, where ordinary people talk about extraordinary topics. I'm your host, Gooch, and today with me is your incredibly average co-host, Raj. Raj, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Gooch. How's everybody doing? Hi, I'm Raj. I'm the resident brown person in the sea of white people that you see in front of you. I'm just your average brown person living in America, having a good time. How's everybody else doing?
Well, he's not just living in America. He actually did just become a U.S. citizen. So congratulations on that.
I did. I'm a full-on Second Amendment gun-toting American now. How are you?
Welcome. Oh, man. All right. Well, today we have some very exciting guests with us. So we actually have all of our supporting staff so that we can start off this podcast strong. We got strong, our foodie, we got spicy, right? We got our medieval recreationist. We got Kenrick in here today. We got the only guy that spends more time researching dead veterans than looking for a girlfriend, Tim. Lucky him.
Not always a bad thing.
that was
and of course we have Nick, right? So our in-house veteran. If his war stories don't make you uncomfortable, his anime addiction definitely will. So
yeah, it's all about the anime titties.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, I think today, in order to give Nick a little bit of leisure because he's kind of preoccupied right now, we're going to start with him. So Nick, how about you go ahead and tell us and the people that are listening a little bit about yourself?
Well, I guess my name's Nick. As you said, I'm the resident veteran, I guess. I was a Marine Corps veteran for 4 years, did 2 tours overseas. I now work in law enforcement. And I don't know, I'm just kind of the little ginger friend that also is obsessed with anime.
Yeah, High School DxD really gets to you, doesn't it, sometimes?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
10 out of 10 would watch again any day of the week.
You say that, like, that was actually, like, one of my branching moments into anime. And if we come to that kind of subject of anime and somewhere along lines, be happy to talk more about it. But, yep, started watching anime in my military career, and it blossomed out from there. And now I'm a resident weeb also.
Yes, resident weeb.
Perfection.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate the honesty in that. So Raj, I'm really excited, man.
Yeah, me too, dude. This is something we've been talking about for a while. Me and Gooch here, we've been friends for a long time, and we tend to have these long-winded conversations through sometimes till 3 o'clock in the morning, talking about the stupidest stuff, talking about stuff that we have no business talking about, but we still do because guess what? That's our right to do so. So we have a group of people here that are experts at different fields from us, people that have different passions than us, people that have different interests than us. So we just came together as a group. Of course, we all started, hanging out and talking thanks to gaming, and that's been something that's connected us all. And we've kind of gotten to know each other little by little, but I feel like we're going to learn a lot about each other with this right now. So I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like we were talking about just a couple days ago, first thing we ever just really sat down and talked way too long about was, that nitty gritty conversation that everyone has in their household, human evolution.
Oh, yes. Yes. Nothing tells you how cool we are as our topics of our conversation. So you come to this podcast if you want to just listen to a bunch of people, possibly drunk, sometimes drunk. Can't guarantee that we'll all be sober.
I thought we were drunk for all of this.
It depends.
Sometimes we're drunk with questions.
I thought it was an option. All right, well then I'm out. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I'm a fucking walk out right now. I apologize. I thought this was drunk.
Yeah, our resident drunk. I think that's actually a good segue into Mr. Kenrick there. Ken, me and him met at our security job that we worked at, and he became a really good friend of mine, and that all just kind of branched over into everyone else that's here right now. Kenrick is a medieval recreationist, so he likes to dress up in knight armor and fight other dudes because he likes to be hot and sweaty with other guys. Other than that, obviously, be careful, because at your local Renfest, at least half the girls are going to say they slept with him, even if they haven't. So
I play both sides of the fields. I you know.
Do you now?
I mean, I guess according to that intro, absolutely. Like sweaty dudes,
okay.
sweaty girls, doesn't matter.
Sweaty dudes or sweaty, as long as there's sweat involved.
As long as there's sweat
We're
involved,
good.
as long as there's some kind of lubricant, social or otherwise, I'm in. So I know that like two of us here have our cameras going. Raj, is that water? Real quick, I gotta ask. Are you drinking water? Are you drinking rain right now?
Are you drinking rain? I like it.
Or are you drinking alcohol?
I
Hey, that's better.
Yeah, he's got,
Right, so yep, I also work in law enforcement. I went to school for it for 5 years. Did work security for 5 years at a hospital. Now in law enforcement as well. I've been studying Western martial arts for the better part of a third of my life. So about 12 to 14 years at this point. I've been studying Western martial arts in different forms. Not the historical aspects of it, more the practical aspects of it. I have plenty of people in my circle that are actual historians that could tell you actual historical fact. What I do is kind of expand on ideas that like I learned through practical, like I'm not going to say that I know like what the guard of the falcon is or guard de la hawk or whatever. I have an idea of its uses. I could probably quote some things about it, but I wouldn't be able to like tell you the text that it came from, like whether it was 15th century, 16th century German, whatever. But I do have a knowledge base in that, as well as like social aspects of law enforcement, the application of defensive tactics, some things like that I have some background in, and also a very, very experienced knowledge of different types of whiskey and the way to drink them and how much of it to drink and how much of it not to drink and the mistakes that can be made or the great things that happen that follow. That's about all there is to me. And adding some playing some good video games. World of Warcraft veteran. I think that I have about probably 450 days logged into different World of Warcraft characters. So I spent at least a year of my life in the World of Warcraft. I found out recently. Which isn't as much as some people that I found out, but at least a year of my life has been spent playing World of Warcraft. So in that vein, MMORPGs, I was a guild master in many of them. So the bringing together of a bunch of dudes to try to kill a thing, sometimes that's another thing that I'm experienced in. But yeah, that's Kenrick.
Yeah, and that's really how we became friends, isn't it, Chris? Yep. I mean, you know, we worked together, but then we started playing Arcade, which for people that don't know is a Korean MMO, and
one of the, I want to say one of the greatest potentials, but least played out games, unfortunately. Yep. But it was a lot of fun when we played it. Raj also was there.
Raj was hurt.
Raj was hurt.
We definitely dragged him into a second launching of this game, and he sunk a lot of time into it with us, and he regrets some of it.
That hurt a lot.
You suffered for us, Raj.
Yeah,
you suffered for the white people on that one. I'm sorry.
When do I not suffer for the white people?
Exactly. Right.
I promised I wouldn't do this. I promised I wouldn't bring race into this, but Chris, come on now.
You did right in your intro. You did it for us.
I did. I can't help it. But Chris, something I wanted for our listeners. Can you explain a little bit about what is Western martial arts?
WMA, Western martial arts. It's the study of basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, medieval fighting in general. Like any application where there's like a Western martial art would be. So Eastern martial arts versus Western martial arts. Eastern martial arts is going to be more like karate, taekwondo, stuff like that. But Western martial arts is more or less like HEMA. In the more modern context, Buhurt, which is, if anyone's seen those like 6'5", 300-pound dudes, 400 pounds in armor, just like running into each other and knocking each other over. That's their version of a study of Western martial arts. So it's essentially, it's a overarching term for swordplay study. There are a lot of other things that fall into Western martial arts, but that's the way I use it. If I was to describe it to anyone, it makes it seem more practical and important than it is. Like, oh yeah, we hit each other with swords. No, I'm doing WMA.
So those of you that are listening, Ken has a Instagram and social media accounts called Project Armory that goes into showing you kind of videos about what it is that happens, some of the stupid things that happen, some of the mistakes that happen, also just two dudes just going at it, full armor, no holds bar, just smash into each other with steel. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check it out, Project Armory. I believe it's the same on TikTok as it is on Instagram, correct?
Yep, we haven't posted a lot recently, but yep, a lot of our Instagram backlog has like probably, I don't know, at least 100 videos of different like short fighting clips. That's mostly on our Instagram though, and a couple of TikTok videos, but mostly dudes beating the shit out of each other, getting sweaty, getting lubricated, because there's definitely alcohol involved, because you don't just go into those fights sober. It seems like a good idea at the time, and you're like, I guess I'll have another shot real quick, and then it seems like a great idea.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense once you watch the videos.
Yeah.
All right, we have Tim up next.
Yeah, we can definitely talk to Tim.
That works. I'm Tim. I have background in security and doing local history, military history. I guess those are some like the biggest things. I work in like essentially a auto body shop for medical imaging equipment. Make stuff look better than what the OEMs were able to supply to customers. So, mine's a pretty short explanation, but that's kind of me in a summary.
It should be known, I think that Raj, you're the only one that in this group, a lot of us worked in the same security job together.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of, I'm sure some of those stories that will come up, but yep, so Tim, Nick, Spicy, and Gooch all work security together, and then Raj.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the outlier.
You should have
in this
worked
group.
there. I thought about that a lot. You should have worked with us. That would have made that perfect at some point.
All 5'6" of me, yeah, that would have gone great.
Oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter in the least.
Short kings, bro.
It does not matter in the
least.
least.
Here.
Lower base, man.
Nick is
was
very
say.
short though too, so
That's gonna
Yeah,
say.
I was 5'7" until 4 years in the infantry made me 5'6".
yeah. See,
All those rucksack runs got him.
that's also the difference between a ginger and a leprechaun has a lot to do with height.
It should be
Jesus.
noted. There is a big thing that Tim left out. He is also a ginger.
I am. So
It's like
we have
You're
let's
not
be
shy
honest,
on
come
the red
man.
yourself there, Ken.
I'm
we have
a half
2.5 gingers.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we have
He's
2.5
also-
gingers.
He's
2.5
also looking
gingers.
for love. So if we have any ladies that are listening to this
Yes.
that are into Lego and have a Lego fetish,
We have 3 people that need love in this chat. There's just 2 that are sad.
All right.
oops.
Also,
Style of savagery.
Timmy
back about
also
10%.
is our local entrepreneur.
Yes.
I am. I'm
Yes.
attempting to start up my own business to help alleviate some of the financial burdens of poor
Life?
government
The world we live
oversight.
in?
Yeah. I'm sure that will probably be some topic that we'll touch on here and there throughout these variety
Oh,
of
for sure, for
conversations. Yeah.
Well, thanks for being part of this, Tim.
Yes. Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it. You are important. You are loved.
you as
Don't
well.
worry. Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate you. So these guys so these guys all have a history together working in some form of law enforcement or security detail. For me personally, I'm kind of the outlier here in this group because most of my professional life I've worked in finance, and that's been my thing. So I worked in all manner of different positions in different banking institutions, and everybody has different things that they can kind of bring into this conversation. And we have people from all walks of life, and something that for our listeners going forward that you need to know is that we all have different beliefs, different political standings and things like that, and we're all coming together for this conversation to kind of get an idea of having discourse. I think that's something that's severely missing in this world, is the discourse that needs to happen between people with different beliefs, different
And being
ideas
able to
of
remain friends,
exactly,
and
and
not
there-
have it separate people and
no,
create
no,
boundaries.
it's just
Yeah, exactly.
I can
People.
have friends that are on different spectrums politically, ideologically, it doesn't really matter. But the fact that you can come together and have a discourse, that's the whole point of this, guys. And we just wanted to create a forum for us to have conversations about different topics and take to heart that we're not experts in any of these fields. We're just regular people having
Mhm.
conversations about what's happening in the world. It could be things that have happened in the past, happening now, and things that might happen in the future. So don't crucify us for our beliefs. We're just trying to kind of figure out what's happening and kind of put it into words and have discourse about it.
Right, and that's what's nice too, Raj. So, you said we were friends earlier. We've been friends for just shy of 13 years. I was actually
Yeah.
thinking about it not too long
We're
ago.
old men now, dude.
Yeah. But what's interesting is we've never actually sat on the same political line, and we've still remained friends for this long, even through all the turmoil that's occurred over 13 years.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more of a moderate right. You're definitely more of a moderate left. And we can just agree to disagree sometimes. Other times we can come to conclusions with each other that we're like, you know what? Yeah, they had a good point. They had a good point. And that's kind of what we
Mhm.
were trying to foster with this. So
Yeah. So you're never going to see this podcast turn into some kind of intellectual combat. We're not
No.
trying to get one up on each other. We're not
No.
trying to prove another person's wrong. It's just sometimes we'll play devil's advocate and we'll try to think a little bit more critically in situations. And sometimes you get alcohol involved in this podcast. Sometimes it might get a little rowdy, but that's it is what it is. It's all good, bro. It's all good. So I just realized we just completely forgot about you, Spicy. We're not trying to act like you are the fifth wheel in this
Wow.
conversation, but we wanted to go ahead and let's introduce Spicy into the mix.
All right. Yep. So like they said, my name's Spicy. That's just kind of what everybody calls me. It's what I go by. So happened a few years ago and it's stuck ever since. And that's pretty much how I get introduced to everybody new I meet.
spicy mayo.
Yep. Got to have a little bit of spice in your life.
Yeah. So my background.
Just to say, my parents actually thought that was his name. For a long time.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
But yeah. So my background is also in the security law enforcement realm. I've got quite a bit of experience with that over the years, as well as I currently work in the fire service. So that's more one of the unique sides of me in this group. So, and they've also established that I'm the resident foodie. So basically any kind of information or new restaurant pop-up that's around, you can probably be sure that I'll know about it, and I'll be dragging some of these guys along and be like, let's go everyone, we're trying this out.
Yeah, he drives a long ways to have good food, man. I can't we went to that sushi conveyor belt place. That was awesome.
Hey man, there are fewer things in this world like a really good restaurant that are worth going to.
Amen.
So sometimes, maybe not in today's world with the level of gas prices we're experiencing, but in general, it's definitely worth it to go have a good time, find something enjoyable like that. Some of the other stuff about me is my hobbies are varied and numerous, and I'm one of those people that tends to pick up a new hobby, and some I'll devote a lot of time to. Others will kind of just be an every once in a while thing. I've always been big into the music and kind of instrumental stuff, playing guitar, and then going out and shooting and being proficient with firearms is an enjoyable time for me. It's also become more and more a part of my job and everything. So, what else is there? Resident history buff, like a couple of these guys, always fascinated by history, specifically more of the ancient civilization type deals. Or like early American history, like 1700s prior. Yeah, so just kind of definitely a resident nerd like a few of these guys.
Yeah,
we're all nerds.
Yeah,
I
man.
was
My
gonna say.
favorite quote, man. Those who do not know their past are doomed to repeat it. You know what I mean?
And it sounds so cliched sometimes when people bring it up, but when you really start to dig into it and you start to evaluate things through that lens, I mean, there is a lot of hidden truth behind that.
It's true. Every historical event has the same kind of lead up. So
And it's there's there are definitely things that should not be forgotten. And in general too, there's just so much interesting that our relatives and our ancestors went through and all these different times that we just don't have any knowledge of, that it would be a shame to lose that. And unfortunately, I think it's stuff that's not focused on a lot nowadays, and there's not as much emphasis placed on learning and remembering some of that.
True. So we really became friends through Nick, wouldn't you say? Because we worked together, but
Did we? Because I want to say didn't we might have started to become kind of friends just before, but Nick was probably part of that catalyst.
yeah.
Because it was kind of like I started to talk to you a little bit, but then also Nick and I started hanging out,
Yep.
and then it just kind of meshed from there.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's hard to remember, that was like 5 years ago now almost.
Yeah, I know.
I was a weirdo when I started, and then I met Spicy, and after much trials, I met Spicy, and that's where I kind of fell into the group because I was the lone weirdo, just fresh out. And
Yeah, it took me a long time, but I got him to where he is now.
I'm a bit of a DJ. Yes,
We built him into a functioning civilian.
Yeah,
Yes.
we did.
It was
Kind of.
at times I still need crayons though.
It's like kind of.
Is that a Marine thing?
It is, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh
He
yeah.
can't give
Okay.
up all his habits.
So dumb, you eat crayons.
Hey Nick, what
Okay.
color is your favorite?
Oh, red all day.
All right.
He
loves-
imagines it's cherry.
He loves strawberry. He loves cherry. He loves raspberries, red raspberries, as we know now.
So a funny story of when I first started working at the security department with all these guys. One of our training officers was in the Army, and he came up to me and offered me a crayon and was like, "Hey, I brought you a snack." And I couldn't resist the temptation of I just snapped right into the crayon and started biting it. And
Oh,
Did you really?
yep,
that
Without
damn-
hesitation?
he went zero. Just took it and snapped right into it and said, "Hey, thanks."
Oh, man.
Wow. Sorry, but fuck that guy. But yeah.
Hey, you want to play a joke? You're gonna get a joke right back. That's
Hey,
just
yeah.
the way it is.
No, sometimes you got to roll with it.
You don't
Yeah.
question me on
No,
that stuff.
You
I'll
don't
just-
question when a crayon is handed to you. You obviously bite into it. That's just
natural.
classic.
Yeah, you never
Classic
know.
move.
Sometimes it's a crayon. Sometimes it's a cherry sucker. Who knows?
It's like the people that try and bite bubbles out of the air.
Oh, time out. First controversial subject I want to talk about. How do you pronounce crayon?
It's
Crayon.
It's a crayon.
It's a crayon.
It's
C-R-A-N.
It's
People pronounce it crown?
C-R-A-N.
Crayon.
Yeah,
It's a crayon.
All right, Raj.
So
No.
I'm
It is. You're overpronouncing. It's not crayon. It's crayon.
See, what's
in normal
funny-
conversation. Wait. Hold
See,
on. I have a
that's
test
that.
here.
That
Can I have
all
a test here?
depends on where you grew up.
Can I? do a
No,
test
man,
here?
this is
So,
coming from the
Raj,
guy that thought laser was spelled with a Z, bro.
Raj, I want you.
Expose me like that.
I have a social experiment here for Raj. Raj, I want you to say, "Hey, my name is Raj.
Hey, my name is Raj.
There are some things I like to do.
There's some things I like to do.
I like to color the crayons."
I like to color with crayons.
You say crayons. Whoa! I hate it.
Hurts.
I hate it.
so
Ye-
I will. I'm kind of in
Okay,
Raj's
speaking to
camp.
Queen's English.
All
Shows
right.
your
So
some
Queen's
background
English. Wow.
So the thing is, I'm kind of in Raj's camp. I don't fully pronounce it either way, though. I kind of hybrid it a little bit because I will say that, like, Raj is, in my opinion, he's on a roll with that one. I mean, there's definitely a Y that's being left out in the other pronunciation.
Fair.
Just like saying little.
Yeah, but this is America and we speak American.
Like little. Instead of
American
little.
speak
First-
American.
This is a great setup for the first major topic we're going to discuss. Is the pronunciation of crayons.
No, we're gonna talk about why American
Crayons.
education keeps falling lower and lower in the world standards.
All right,
my
you- all right,
God.
Mr. American citizen. All right, Mr. American citizen. Welcome to our country.
I mean, I
Oh,
will say
man.
on like pronunciations. I mean, I'm also one of those guys that I refuse to say pop. I always call it soda.
Oh, I say pop all the time, but that's
I
just
say
the
pop.
That's a
Midwestern.
regional thing, though. Yeah,
Mhm.
where you are.
Except for I'm in the wrong region for it.
Yeah,
So what do you-
except if you say soda pop, you deserve to burn in hell.
Damn.
Agreed.
All right, Raj.
Okay,
You're just
go
over
in your corner.
simplifying something.
I think if
go
you
on
call
a
everything a Coke too, that's
just
kind of an
pure
issue.
chaos.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
a lazy person at that point. Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
What
I
do you
want a lime Coke.
Could I get a Coke? What kind of Coke do you want? Fuck off.
Can I get that orange Coke, please?
Especially now that they have all those different flavors of Coke on the machines and even in bottles.
It's problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's-
can't do
it's-
that.
Problematic. It's problematic to say the least.
Well,
I
and
want
not
that
to
spicy
mention,
McDonald's Coke.
I
that's
want
the thing
that Coke
too.
sandwich, please.
That's the
Okay,
thing
wait.
too. Not only is Coke, all pop is referred to Coke in like southern regions of the U.S.
Mhm.
except for Dr. Pepper. That is the one pop that gets a pass. It's its own thing.
Nothing like barbecue,
barbecue
to
water.
really get your day going. Yeah,
Yeah. ugh.
Good
Ah.
lord.
It's
Ooh.
delicious though.
it is.
So then another segue to a discussion. What is the ranking of Coke and how it's produced? Is it like McDonald's Coke, canned Coke, bottle Coke?
Well, see, that's not fair
glass
because
bottle Coke.
well, if you get
Oh,
it from like a
Mexican Coke.
restaurant, they have special. Their machines put more fizz into it, or they
You
have like
need, you need to get glass bottled Mexican Coke. The
Yes.
stuff that's made with real cane sugar.
I fully
Yeah.
agree.
Oh yeah.
That
100%.
is the top tier.
My number 2 is canned Coke.
If I had to take a hard stab at it, Raj is right. That is the top tier. The next one for me, there's something about a large fountain Coke from McDonald's.
Yeah, they double filter their water.
See, that's not fair
chill
though. You can't do that in your normal house. You
Yeah.
can't,
I mean,
But so
but
I don't
Coke
think
could
that
do
even
that.
deserves to be on this scale.
No, I can do that when I have a driver's license.
Has anyone here worked in the food service industry and has seen how Coke has been made? Like not how it's made, but like literally like how it's put into the systems that they pour it.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's a box.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Foul half the
It's a
It's
time.
just
Yeah.
it's disgusting, right?
It's a box of
This is
syrup.
just
Yep.
goo that's on the
It's
pork
goo
and
that's
all
put
kinds
that's
of
filtered through a thing
crap.
and shot into your cup.
Yeah.
Well, and when you look at it with those self-serve machines they have at all the restaurants and movie theaters now, it's all just seltzer water, and you can see the stream of syrup running down
And
the
it
middle of the seltzer.
mixes.
Mhm.
Like I worked at NCG for like 8 months, and like I refilled some of those machines. I was like, this is the most disgusting shit I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
So
Just like I couldn't eat
something-
popcorn for 10 years. I was like, this is awful. I can't believe this is the way it's made. I hate
Something
this shit.
people
It's
might
disgusting.
find interesting, those Coke Freestyle machines, there's actually sensors in the boxes, and that's how you open up the machine. Coke
Mhm.
wants to keep that so safe that you have to have a box with you in order to open the machine to service it yourself. And then if there's anything more than like there's a jammed box or a clogged pipe, you have to call Coke. They will not let you touch anything. It's
Oh, that's-
insane.
It's like having a license to pour Guinness, which
Pretty
is like
much.
which is way better. I always drink Guinness over Coke because way healthier. But yeah,
Or car
So
car
those who didn't
manufacturers
believe.
now. Car manufacturers now, you can't work on your own vehicle anymore because they've made so much of the technology and tools proprietary, and you have to get a licensor from that company or
Yep.
buy their one special $2,000 piece of diagnostic equipment just to
Mhm.
be able to fucking change a tire.
Yeah, you
Right,
know,
like-
and
oh,
they'll just do even the
insane.
simple stuff. Like in my car, I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee. If I want to get to my battery, guess where that's at?
Under your
Oh, is
passenger
it up
seat?
in a wheel well or something?
Under my rear passenger seat,
Yep.
Oh, Jesus.
next to the wheel. I have to take my rear passenger seat off, which is a bench seat. to get to the
Jesus.
battery. You fucking cucks.
Yeah.
motherfuck these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers put my shit in the seat.
Yeah, it's the stupidest shit, but it is what it is. As you know, we're dealing with a world where, things come in boxes when it should come in jars and cups, and we just eat it like we're just cattle, and we don't think about it. So that's
That's
basically
awful. That's awful racist of you to say.
Yeah.
Jesus.
is
but
that
like-
racist?
I was gonna say I've been shown so
Yeah.
many things from the
Like we're
military. I don't even
cattle?
care what I'm putting in my
Come on
body
now.
anymore.
90% of stuff that you find in grocery stores did not exist 100 years ago.
No.
True.
Jesus.
That's scary to think about.
The hell is broccolini? You think that shit existed?
Well, everyone's got all this extra time to make up bullshit in order to fucking make a dollar.
I mean, broccolini, I would say that might be plausible. I mean, it sounds like broccoli's European cousin.
Broccoli is not naturally occurring.
All right,
guys.
the resident,
It's broccolini.
the resident foodie has spoken. It is now the gospel.
It is
Yeah.
the gospel.
Well,
I-
yeah,
Let's
I
be up
mean,
to him.
well, yes, because I was gonna say, you go to the East Coast as a foodie, especially if you're from the Midwest or a place where we pronounce all of the consonants and vowels, and you will lose your mind at how certain meats are produced or pronounced.
Gabagool.
Oh,
And we've reached our quota for racism in this podcast.
No,
It's
Do we
okay.
have
You
to?
can make fun of
Jersey
Italians.
in-laws.
if
They
we ever
fucking
if we
pronounce
ever get
that way.
video if we ever get video on these, we need
We
to
gotta
get
start
our quota
censoring
right.
ourselves.
Yeah, like
This
literally
podcast
everyone.
is brought to you by
When-
Manscaped.
Yeah, whenever everyone says that.
No, but for real,
That's a
Manscaped,
sellout.
please. No.
No, have you guys even do any of you guys manscape? That's a good question. I feel like that's a great question. Raise your hand if you manscape. Rather say it since we can't see anyone.
Manscaping is
manscape.
mandatory.
Okay, are you talking
Yeah.
about just the gentleman region or the entire?
Oh,
Other
we're talking.
body.
I feel like we got to go towards the gentleman region on this conversation.
I
was gonna
only
say-
do
Well,
the
I mean,
gentleman region.
I
was gonna say we can't do the whole body because I'd need a freaking like
Yeah, that'd be
trimmer at
aggressive.
that
Have
point.
like Mr. Clean over
So
there.
Gooch manscapes. Nick, you manscape.
yes.
Spicy, you manscape.
Yeah, I think it's mandatory.
Tim,
Yeah,
you manscape.
I would say it's also mandatory.
Mandatory manscaping. All right, I manscape. I feel like it's Raj. You manscape.
There we go. Yeah, I'm like,
Yes.
let's ask Raj.
It's like
Yes.
No, I was
I
getting.
grow hair like no other. So yes, I Manscaped.
So that's 6 out of 6 at least in this podcast. That's 100% manscape rate. So we
Yeah,
know
I was
it's a
gonna
thing.
say
So Manscaped, if you're looking for a good group of guys that that would use your products and your ball shaving cream.
Your ball shaving. Wait, you use a cream? There's a cream?
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, they got all kinds of
Next
products.
time I spit on it.
God damn it! Haven't been doing this whole time?
Oh god.
that explains so much.
I'll leave that up
Oh.
to your fiance, Nick.
Yeah, that seems like a personal problem. We'll deal
I
with
guess
that.
that's something we should say. Nick and Raj are the only two that are married / about to be married.
Bullshit, bro. You've been in a relationship for how long?
I'm
You
not
say
getting
about-
married
you say
yet.
about to be. You say about to be married. So.
Yeah, Nick is about to be married.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I thought Nick was already married.
No,
it's
end
September.
of summer. I get married.
Oh, I keep
Yeah.
referring to her as your wife. Why'd you
I
never
mean,
correct
pretty
me?
much is.
All right, there you go.
Like you
I'm
never
not that
correct
outside
me.
of my
Yeah, correct me. I'm in need of constant corrections. My life.
life. No, yes.
Yes. To any of you that are out there that are listening that are about to be married or have been in a long-term relationship, let me be the first to tell you, nothing changes.
Nope.
You're not special. Nothing happens for you.
All right,
You're
and to those
okay.
of you that are single and have been engaged twice and have failed an engagement twice,
Wow.
everything
Deep.
always changes.
I didn't think we'd talk about
Hey.
that today.
So what I'm
Man.
gonna say here next,
Everything
is,
always changes. Everything sucks. Go fuck yourself.
So it's either 3 strikes and you're out or lucky number 3.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for number 3. Hell yeah. And then I'm
We all
doing it
are,
again.
Chris. We're all waiting for number 3.
That's,
We're all waiting for your number.
We
three.
all talk behind your back about how you need to find a nice gal.
well,
Yeah. Well,
knows?
then let
She
me
might have
also
a
say
sword,
for
too.
married of saying don't take relationship advice from us.
her name is
We're all
Jamie,
kind of
and
crap.
the last name is Asen. Jameson. Come on now. All
Oh,
right. Anyway.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I
Yeah,
I
that
thought you were going down
silence
another
tells
path
you.
with that for
Yeah.
a minute.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we, it's
That
always weird now that we
but-
know a Jamie. It's always weird now that we know a Jamie. I know.
We all know
I can't say that
Jamie.
shit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
not
based
lie to
on
ourselves.
Chris's like personality facets and his fascination with the whiskeys, I'm pretty sure number 3, you're gonna have to fly a long way to get there because she's in the UK.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. That's fair. I could do.
Yeah.
I could
Group
absolutely.
trip?
That's actually a dream of mine is to travel to the UK, Scotland, Ireland, meet a nice Scottish lass. Or
Bro, that Scottish
lass.
woman would
Woo.
beat the shit out of you.
oh, that's all. That's all I want in life.
Yeah, you
what I
welcome that.
what I do for my free time is when I can like, get the shit beat out of me by dudes. I'd much rather get the shit beat out of me by females. So
You
know.
think you'd make her wear armor while she does it to you?
Oh, absolutely not.
Do
She
you
doesn't
still
need
play as a
protection.
peasant
Plate mail
in the
mommy?
13th
She doesn't
century?
in this current climate. Only I need protection. Let's be honest.
She'll
Just
have-
ask him if he foreplays as a peasant.
You guys act like you've never been to the Renaissance Festival.
She has
Never
such a
went to a
Dyson of a
Renaissance
mouth,
festival.
man. Just
Jesus. Go to the
Sucking
Renaissance,
milk
Renaissance
straight out
Festival
of the
one
cow's
time.
teat, man. It's
Oh.
there.
Go to the Renaissance Festival one time and tell me you haven't seen that exact scene play out. I dare you.
I guess we could talk about that. You know, honestly, like I strongly believe that at least half of the women at our local Renaissance Festival want to sleep with you, Ken.
Why? All right. Why is that going to be a topic? Why we
I'm
got to
well,
go that
for
way?
disease.
This is a biopic of your life. We're going into.
I mean, he's the one
detail.
that opened up the
Yes.
two gals walking away from his engagement. So I
Mhm.
guess
Well,
we'll
that's
just
not.
cut it
That's. I
open.
didn't mean for that to be like a topic of conversation. I meant for that to be a jab at those of you who are happily married and someone who's about to be happily married. That like,
No,
oh, it doesn't always work out. You know,
We're
you're not the
we're gonna
100%.
no, we're gonna bring a counselor for
Yeah.
this next time.
I
We're
was
gonna get
gonna
a counselor to come in.
Good
and have
idea.
Like a
conversation with
Dude,
licensed
us.
a whole
Yes.
2-hour episode of just
About
a counselor
you.
and Chris.
No,
Yes.
I disagree. You guys
Yeah.
keep referring to me by
We're gonna
my.
tell him it's a whiskey episode, and he's gonna come
All right,
in and
Ken,
get blindsided.
Ken.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Let's
Stop
remember
referring to me
Ken.
by my actual name, you sons of guns.
But yeah,
No one
so
gets to
it's-
know who I am. Nobody else. Chris / Kenrick, by the way, is me. I go by either. Kenrick is my Renaissance Festival handle, which I developed over the last like probably 10 years. At the Renaissance Festivals, I go as a Scottish knight named Sir Kenrick the Drunk, and I go and I perform a Scottish accent. I almost get in for free most of the time at our local Renaissance Festival. And if anyone of you are wondering why Chris / Kenrick is the deal, that's why. Is that it's
Okay.
it's an alter ego of mine just for the Renaissance Festival / my gaming handle.
It's part of the psychosis. Don't ask too much about it.
I don't separate. They're beginning to like meld into a single person. I don't know who I am on the average day.
Yeah.
Depending on the amount I drink, I don't know where I'm at anyway. So
he's gonna come out at the end and be like, "My name is Jeff."
my name is Jeff.
My name,
You guys didn't know that.
At least it's not
but no.
Kenrick the Maidenless.
maidenless.
I mean, I am maidenless. So
We're all made.
I mean, you definitely don't usually leave fucking the Ren Fair Maidenless.
So all of us that
I
are in
always
a
leave.
relationship are
I
not
always leave the
maidenless.
Ren Fair maidenless, bro. It happens during the Ren Fair. What happens at Ren Fair stays at Ren Fair. Come on.
Okay,
now.
very well. I'll leave that alone.
Thank you. Jesus.
I
He
just
goes
love
in
how
maidenless.
I just love
comes
how Ken is just like, oh, I meant for it to be a jab at you guys that are like engaged or in long relationships, and they're like, nope, we had an Uno reverse card waiting for you.
That's all right.
That's,
We also
that's
have
my
fucking
my
episodes we
life
could have
is-
on Spicy and Timmy.
I'll say like I feel like Timmy and mine existent is waiting for an Uno reverse card, and then it just always gets played, and then we think we're playing one, but then they have another Uno reverse card.
They have a draw 4 wild.
Yeah, we're just like, bro, like I got a zinger for you, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck, man, that's a better zinger, and then you
Wild-
got to
yeah,
think of
yeah.
another one on the spot, and then it just I
Yeah,
haven't gone
and
that
then-
far
Yeah.
yet.
Meantime,
so-
he's just like wild card, change it to green, draw 4, reverse, draw 4 again.
When's the last time any of you guys actually played Uno? Now that we're spiraling.
Probably about a year ago.
Bro,
Yeah,
probably
we
the
should
same.
film one of these while playing Uno with friends.
I disagree entirely. I feel like that'd be
Oh,
aggressive.
Yes, that would be that, dude. Monopoly.
People would be,
Oh, dude,
people get mad,
do it for 6
dude.
hours.
It'd be
So-
angry people.
It'd be
So-
very angry people by the end. Of
Speaking-
the
Also, Raj would
And
win
very
Monopoly, you
hammer drunk.
dumb assholes. He's the only one with actual financial experience in the adult world. We're gonna be like, we get how Monopoly works. Raj is like, no. There's
They're
a
gonna
back
be
code.
wondering why I'm buying all like the small houses.
There's like a
Why
backlog
is this
code
guy-
that
why
Raj
is
has
this guy
cracked.
doing that? Why has
Yeah,
he got a
so-
majority of properties?
The
I don't
problem
know
is
why.
our civil discussions are just gonna go right out the window with Monopoly.
Yes.
Can't do
But-
anything like that.
We'll be talking. Someone will make a move and just fuck.
There'll
One
be a
way,
microphone thrown into a wall. We'll never,
yeah, for
we'll never
sure.
hear from him again.
We'll
one way to
leave that
play
up to
games
the
online,
audience to
though.
decide if they want us that kind of
Content.
Yes.
content. We'll definitely do that. But
Tabletop simulator. I just have to say.
yeah.
There you go.
Fair.
yes. And if you really want to make us really hurt, just make us play Tarkov, and you'll
Oh,
see what grown men in
yeah.
tears
Oh man.
feels like. Yeah. If you haven't cried enough, come watch us play Tarkov.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then if that happens, I will absolutely load in, and by the time I load in, I will be dead. As every time I play Tarkov.
Well, if you
of
just
the-
didn't
of the
have a
5
potato
times.
for a computer.
I have an okay computer, all right. She does good work on occasion.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Don't
and then
call
you
her a
bought
she.
two medicine and it didn't even
That
work.
doesn't help your case. Don't call your computer a she.
God, you guys are awful judgmental. You married people.
Okay, all right, guys. So anybody that's
Wow.
listening out there, it might seem like we're picking on Chris, but you have to understand Chris is the abusive father of this group. Okay,
Fair.
he's the guy that gets
Yeah.
drunk and verbally abuses us until we start to cry. Some of us,
Until you
and-
guys learn from your mistakes and become better people for it. Right, Spicy?
Yeah, can't confirm. This happened to me recently. We were playing Valheim, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
getting absolutely shreked by this dude. And then I went and found what he wanted me to find, and I'm like, "Did I do well, Papa?"
Yeah, he will metaphorically adopt you as his child and then disown you.
Yes, all in the same 10 minutes. It keeps people on their toes.
It was a whiplash
expect
ride. I'm not
nothing.
gonna lie.
It's only to make you guys better at what you do, and I really want everyone to succeed. And I know that as the drunk father, I've already failed at everything, so the only thing I could do is hope that you guys succeed. I believe as the elder of this group, I think, right? Am I the elder of this group? I think so.
I think you
Huh.
are.
Are you
I'm-
the elder?
Pretty sure.
I think we're all in our late 20s.
Yeah.
Ah!
You.
So I am the elder. So fuck all of you. I'm gonna have
Yes.
another drink.
Spicy's older. Spicy's older than me. I'm older than Mike.
Yep.
Raj, I don't know where you're in that. And then
I
Tim, I
am-
think you're before me too.
Or are we saying our age?
Yeah.
Are we just gonna like straight up throw our ages out here? Does that help on our podcast, or is that like help not help us?
Well, it's not identifiable information, so I don't.
All right,
think-
ready?
Yeah.
The oldest person goes first. Me. I'm 31.
I
Okay.
did not even realize that.
I'm
Be about-
29.
I'm
Yep.
29 as well.
Okay, I'm
28.
28.
28.
Yep.
So
Mix.
Yeah,
Nick.
I said I was 28.
Perfect.
28. Okay. So
Now that
yeah,
my
Oh,
full
look at
name's
that.
out there.
now that
I
we've
am the-
established.
I am the elder. All right. So yeah. Anyway, drunk uncle / father in video games. I am, and I only do it, like I said, to help these guys be better, and so that I can be worse and continue to drink and be off fucking around somewhere, and someone will actually get the whatever activity or goal we're
Yeah.
trying to achieve done.
he's like,
So
I
it's
gotta be.
all the verbal abuse.
He's like, I
all
gotta
of
make
it.
sure they do it, otherwise I gotta be the responsible one.
Well, thank you for your selfless sacrifice.
It's all I
Yes,
can. It's all I can
yes,
offer
thank
to
you.
this group. It's truly that.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So now that we've gone down this giant rabbit hole of destroying each other's self-esteem and assaulting each other's integrity and human nature, let's go back around and I think Mike, you had a topic for us to discuss. Yes. Sorry, I got this dry mouth.
Now that we're an hour in, might as well hit the
Yes.
actual topics that have been written.
Yeah,
down
I
for us.
guess. Well, yeah. So just as a conversation starter, I figured that we could talk about what your meaning of life is,
Oh my god.
and
42.
we could discuss it.
Hashtag
Wow.
not starting that.
Who is
Who
brave
goes
enough to go
first?
first?
I was
That
about to
is the
say, wait,
thing.
no, let the religious boy go. He's got it all figured out, right?
We have a couple of religious boys here, yes?
Yeah.
Come on,
Mm,
Spicy.
I'm drunk enough to go first, but I'm not going to because I'm just going to keep drinking Jameson until something happens.
I'll tell you
Jameson is
what
his
mine
religion.
is. So for me, right
There
now,
we
where
go.
I'm at in life, the meaning of life is to, in some way, shape, or form, be prolific and provide. So
Ooh,
whatever you're-
prolific.
whatever you're focused on right now, right? So for me, it's my career. I want to be successful in my career, and I want to honestly make a decent amount of money. As much as I'd like to be like, oh, it's love, oh, it's anything else, all those kinds of things will just fall into place for you, I believe. I don't think you need to go looking for love in your life. And it's not a meaning. And maybe when I have a kid, that might be my meaning of life, right? Like protecting the child, making sure that they grow up to be good people. But right now where I'm at, late 20s, no kids, it's definitely like my career. And I think that's something that we could talk about too, is the meaning of life will change as you get older. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it's very similar because me and Gooch are very similar in age, and we have these conversations all the time between ourselves, And I recently was married. I've been married for a year now, and it definitely changes your overall. I know I joked around and said nothing changes, but it definitely does change because you are now tied to another human being for the rest of your life. and you are responsible for that person, and you have to be considerate of that person every single time you make a decision. That could be financial, it could be even something as simple as you say that you're looking for another job. Guess what? It's not just your choice anymore. You have to have that conversation with your significant other. So like in terms of where I'm at in my life, I'm going into my 30s next year, and it's just, you know, being stable. That's really what it is. You want to be stable so that way other people can rely on you, and you can be that person that people can go to when they need something. So that's something that I think I take a lot of meaning in. I always enjoyed the aspect, especially in the work that I do, that I get to train a lot of younger people and kind of guide them through the ropes of what to do and what not to do in their life. I'm able to give a lot of younger people advice on finances that I didn't get when I was growing up. So it's just being that person for others that they can come to with no judgment, no drunk fatherly advice, just
Oh,
logic
buddy.
and reason, and just being that person. So that for me, that's what's important at this moment in my life.
Okay, I think I have mine. I would say it's obviously a lot of those things of being prolific and things, but I think it most boils down to me to being impactful currently, of I guess leaving my mark on whether it's a personal interaction or things like that, of having like something come out of it that I'm proud of, that I know like meant something to someone. So especially right now, as I said, I work in law enforcement. I'm currently on like the correction side of law enforcement. I interact with people who have not made the right decisions all the time. Like you said, mentoring people, but just it's not all about just like the punitive portion of it. I try to have experiences with the people I'm around that could maybe have them think differently the next time something comes up that could end them up with them seeing me again. I know it's a long shot, and Ken can confirm on that. Like, there's only so much you can do for people at times, but that's something I like to try and leave people with, or just even in other things in my life. I've had friends who have met their significant others through me, and having them come back and say, you know, I'm so glad I met this person because of you and stuff like that. Like those impactful moments are the most meaningful thing for me.
No, it's definitely important because, like you say, a lot of these people that you come into contact with have a distrust of authority, and they have a distrust of authority because they feel that people in that authority have taken advantage of them. So
yeah,
to kind of get past that notion and get into a human conversation, trying to make them understand that outside of the uniform, you are another human being, and that you are able to connect with them and have conversations with them, even though it might seem like you're not doing anything. Maybe the next time they come into contact with somebody of an authority figure, or at least in a civil service authority figure, they'll have a different viewpoint on what they're doing.
Yeah, it might just show that, hey, not everyone's just an asshole out to get them. Hey, this person might be like Nick, who's, you know, just trying to help me out of this, or, you know, talk me through it or something like that.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
I can actually talk to them about it before just immediately thinking that they're here to hem me up.
Would you agree with that, Chris?
I was trying to go last, man, because you guys all have like really good shit to say. I got like, all right. Am I really going to be next? Does someone else want to go first?
No, I mean, you can just comment on what I
say.
said, since you're in this
well,
similar.
Well, yeah, since being on the correction side of law enforcement, I'll speak to that as quickly as I can in a non-drawn out manner. So a lot of people in law enforcement see civilian lifestyle a lot differently from law enforcement lifestyle. There's like this divide, us and them. And what both Nick and I try to bring to the atmosphere is it's a little bit less of a, there's less or no line. And that garners a lot of respect from those individuals. What I've found, whenever both Nick and I work in these environments, we garner a lot of respect because we don't stand on the other side of a line. We just walk over the line, and like we'll like shake a hand or like do something for somebody that like really makes an impact on their current existence, which whether it's being incarcerated or on their way out or whatever, like sometimes not even going the extra step, not doing favors, not, treating anyone special, but just genuinely getting to know somebody and like letting them approach you for things. And they're like, there is something wrong with my court paperwork for that being an example.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
the only
just as
example
much
I'm
as
going to
just
say.
listening.
Just
a lot of
listen
the
to
time.
what they think is wrong with their court paperwork, and then you actually follow up on that with some of our individuals that are more learned in this area, like our people that actually process the paperwork, and then actually find out there's something is wrong with their paperwork, and that had we not listened to them, they would have remained incarcerated for another 4 or 5 days to a month, who knows, until someone actually listened to them, their concerns. And you can't do that for everybody, because we're the minor, we're like the few to the many, so you can only help so many people a day. But like when you redo things like that, that garners a lot of respect, and that word travels very quickly. So for people that don't make a line in the sand and don't step over that line, they stay on their side, and they're like, no, there's us and there's you guys. That does not get respect very quickly.
No,
And
that
what
makes
we
a-
do is
that
we
makes a lot of
step over
sense.
that line. I think that both Nick and I step over that line a couple of times, but not in the wrong way. We do it for the right reasons, but we do have to step back over the line on our side for most of it. Obviously, 90% of our work is that. But when you can take the opportunity to step over that line and try and help someone, it leaves a lasting impact that you hope doesn't get wasted. A lot of times it does. A lot of the times it's absolutely wasted. I'm not going to just say that like, oh yeah, every person we help is totally good with it. No. A lot of times you go away to help someone and it's absolute fucking bullshit. And there's no point to it, but you still got to try. And I feel like that's lost on a lot of
faith
people.
in humanity kind of
Yeah,
thing.
the faith in humanity tends to drop off real hard whenever you're in that line of work. But
That's
like,
a
if you
test
can
of
keep
character
that,
for you guys. It definitely is, because the thing is, when you're in that kind of scenario where imagine yourself incarcerated, where everyone tells you when you sleep, when you can do something, you become less human. Because
well,
you
I
have
can
no
very much
freedom.
sympathize with that from my military experience, where where I was, a lot of those things were removed from me, and I like to poke fun at them, saying, nobody's beating you up or telling you got to go work out or forcing you to do anything crazy like that. But I understand that it's different because they had less of a choice. I mean, in a sense of having those things pulled away from them. I willingly volunteered to go and do that. But no, it's very much I can sympathize with that and deal with that sense side of it. And then, but still at the same time, like I gotta do what I have to do at the end of the day.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. You got a job to do.
Yeah.
Spicy.
All right, so meaning of life. That's one that I've been trying to think of. It's kind of a loaded question in the sense that, like you said, things change over time. Coming from my perspective, obviously, you guys kind of talked about your backgrounds as well, like your political leanings a little bit. So in my case, aptly named by Wix and everybody, they call you one of the religious ones.
well,
but yeah, so I mean, so my background is as a Christian conservative. So that's kind of where I come at from some of these things. So you'll sometimes hear me reference some things maybe from more of the like faith side, because I mean, when you grow up in it, or if that's part of your belief system, I mean, naturally it's going to kind of shape how you view the world and some of the things in it. So for me, the meaning of life, I mean, I'm kind of along similar lines as you guys but at this point in my life, it's definitely trying to, it's kind of like what Mike said, the prolific. So I'm basically just trying to establish myself in the like job and career that I'm happy with, so that I can build up basically build myself up as the person for like a family in the future, to like support a future spouse and a child, like whether it's financially or just emotionally, mentally, physically, trying to get myself into better health.
Physically, huh?
Well, actually, for me, that's more just getting myself healthy again. You know, I want to be able to enjoy life and not have, you know, health impacts from basically just not watching what I eat, not working out, stuff like that. So for me, it's all about kind of, I mean, it's probably more of a traditionalist view to some people, but building yourself into a provider, a protector, basically a leader, like being able to, basically just being able to fulfill all of those roles to
I'll drink to that.
become the
Amen.
best, become the best version of yourself, to not only do it for yourself, but also for your future family and those that you care about and rely on you. So that's part of it. And on, you know, from the faith side of things, like I mentioned, you know, obviously for me, that plays a big part in it too. You know, with the belief systems, I mean, everybody's probably heard of it, kind of, you know, biblically, there's the theory of like the Great Commission. It's not a theory, it's literally part of there, where, you know, it talks about basically spreading the gospel to the world. And that's not really, I mean, I'm not actively out there just, you know, Bible thumping on the streets. Yeah, I'm not gonna,
As they say, Bible thumping on the streets.
but it's one of those things where, you know, you're driven by your faith a lot of times, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever you subscribe to, like that is, you know, you're gonna be a part of that, and then you're gonna want to share that with other people, because you're like, this is where I find a sense of joy and peace and everything. And so I want to, you know, from a loving standpoint, as like a friendship or just caring about other people, you're like, I want you to be able to experience that if you want it. If you don't want it, I mean, that's your choice. I mean, I'm not going to force it on you.
You're
You
not
know,
going
it's-
Christian missionary on Sentinel Island.
Right. And you know what's interesting about faith is, you know, a lot of the times the meaning of life ends up just being a long-term goal, right? So like
Mhm.
a 5-year or more goal. Faith is kind of like the extreme of that. Like your long-term goal is, I want to go to whatever your faith claims
You're
you'll
like-
have if you're the best.
You're like, I don't want to burn for all eternity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny because it's like you're setting this goal, but normal goals that we can set for ourselves have measurable outcomes, and
Mhm.
we can usually see other people that have gotten to that point. But when you talk about faith, you talk about, you know, like you said, not burning for all eternity or whatever your faith says will happen if you're not good. You don't actually have anyone that has technically been through it because they're dead.
It's not tangible. It's not something that you can look at and see like, oh, this person did it. I literally saw him ascend with wings to heaven. No,
Right.
It doesn't work that way. It's basically faith in itself is something that you either believe it or you don't. And that's hard for a lot of people to get. And even for me, like I grew up in a very religious society. Hinduism, especially in the forms that I was introduced to, was very much about, here it is. This is what you're gonna believe. This is what you're gonna see, and that's it. And
Yeah,
there's
if no one
real,
if no one listening guessed, Raj is from India originally.
yes, my name should have given that away. But if
You don't know, man.
yeah,
You
if
never
you
know.
are if you are confused, yes, I hail from the land of butter chicken and naan.
Holy
Jesus
fuck,
Christ.
dude.
Oh,
And
There's a-
yeah, I grew up a Hindu, and that's what was forced on me as a kid. As I grew up in America. I moved here relatively young, so 8 or 9 years old. So I had a chance to kind of see both ends of the spectrum. And
Mhm.
for me personally, I don't, and it's nothing against anybody who believes in, I don't put any merit in religion. And that's just my belief in the process of it, because for the most part, all I've ever seen is religion cause problems. And for
I
me,
concur with that one.
yeah, and for me, it's just one of those things. I put a lot of trust in science. My background is in science. My dad has always been in the science field, and he's deeply religious. But as you grow up, I feel like you're able to kind of look at religion, kind of take the fairy tales out of religion, and kind of just focus on the lessons that they're trying to teach. If you look at a lot of the religion in place, it's going to be just lessons for you to learn.
So there's something interesting though. So growing up in Hinduism, the goal in Hinduism is to do the best you can with what you're doing now, right? And then you'll move up, correct, in caste.
So generally, the whole goal of Hinduism, the philosophy of Hinduism is that you that you do the right thing so that way you can escape the cycle of reincarnation.
Okay.
So people think that reincarnation is the gift and that's what you get when you don't want to go back into reincarnation because then you deal with the same bullshit of life.
Right.
So the whole point is that you try to be the better person and so in Christianity, there's the 7 deadly sins. In Hinduism, there's something very similar. It tells you, not to be too greedy, not to want everything, don't be somebody who goes after material goods and things like that. And as you give that up, you become free of all the worldly problems that affect a lot of human beings, whether it's jealousy, rage, a lot of that stuff. And once you get to the point where you no longer have that, I mean, in Buddhism, they call it nirvana. So it's very similar to the same thing, because those of you who don't know, Buddha was born in India. He was an Indian prince, and he was a Hindu that then created his own teachings based on what he'd learned doing his meditations and things like that. But like for me personally, I don't believe that there's a God up there with 6 arms and 3 heads that's dictating whether or not the wind is going to go a certain direction. That doesn't fly with me. I'm learned enough to know that there's a reason for things to happen. We can calculate how things happen. Like for me personally, if there is a God, mathematics and science is the language that we use to understand him. That is the gospel that I adhere to. So I look at something, can it be explained with math? Can it be explained with science? If it can't be explained with science, we just don't have the understanding yet. It's not somebody up there that's doing something for, like, if there's a God out there, there's an infinite universe of planets and things that are happening that we are so insignificant in the grand scheme of everything that's going on in the cosmos. He wouldn't have time for bullshit. So for me, I'm just gonna be worried about me. I'm just gonna look at religion as lessons to learn, but not necessarily things that I have to fully adhere to.
So it's interesting though.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, and this will loop back into the whole like coming to what your meaning of life, long-term goal would be. So in Hinduism, the goal is to, get past those 7 deadly sins, kind of like in Christianity, and then ascend, right? Well, I think one of the primary issues with that mindset is if I screw up one time, what's the point of the rest of my life?
Yeah, there's things in religion that I don't really quite understand. That doesn't make sense. Like in Christianity, the fact that you can do something bad and then go tell a priest about it. I mean, this might be just be Catholicism, not speaking of all the different subsects of Christianity, but in Catholicism, you can do something bad, talk to a priest about it, say however many Hail Marys you want to say, and you're absolved of your sins. It doesn't take away from the pain of the other person that you caused this to. That's not how. If that's the reasoning behind it, it doesn't really make sense to me. And there's a lot of these little things that you run into as you grow older and you become a more rational human being, where you look at something, you say, okay, that doesn't quite stick with logic. I mean, there might be 80% of whatever you're reading makes sense. I mean, in early society, they needed these kind of strict rules and regulations to keep people in line because people were crazy. They didn't have the knowledge to go through it. There's a reason why the Bible was written in Latin, so that only the highly educated could read it, and the lower class were basically just relegated to listening to whatever they say is right from the Bible. So now that we're in this society, we're in the 21st century, we are able to, we put somebody on the moon. We were able to go in and we were able to calculate something from stages of people. It's not just one person that got us all the way to where we are. It's a group of people that collectively sat together and said, we are going to decipher the things in the universe and we're going to make it in a way that we can understand and we can predict it. And we were able to do something that was thought to be impossible. So that for me is more uplifting and more promising to me than it is in anything that religion can offer me. And that's just my opinion. Like I said, for those of you listening out there, you might be devout Christians and you might believe in, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that this is, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that I have to believe it. Sure. And just from my life experiences and what I've gone through and from what I've studied, this is my belief in how the universe works.
Fair.
Yeah, I think it's amazing because you're from a completely different religion and I grew up Catholic. and I've somehow now in the same headspace, I think, or very similar headspace to you, in the sense of I went to Catholic school for 9 years. I now identify myself as jokingly a recovering Catholic. I've
How did the priest hurt you?
There's all that, and but no, it's very similar bases, but I align myself more now as an agnostic, where I don't believe in a set deity, or if there even is a deity. Regardless of that, it's based on my own morals, which have been shaped by religion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my own moral compass that leads me forward. And you say you've seen how it's only been religion that's been the true cause of problems. I mean, I can say from my experience being in the military and been at a part of the war that we've just fought in, which it wasn't a holy war in a sense, but at the same time it was.
Mm-hmm.
There's no escaping that for a lot of people, but
Mm-hmm.
it has caused a lot of things, and even if you don't want it to be that way, it can sink into your mind that
Absolutely,
way.
yeah. And the thing is that I noticed, I'm not saying that religion's the only cause of strife in the world.
Oh God,
Even if religion didn't exist, people would still find a way to attack each other, kill each other.
Yeah, we'll kill each other over
anything. It's just the tribalistic mentality of monkeys, and it's just something that we haven't gotten over yet. And that's just part of
the whole us versus them thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just such a thing. And I mean, it could be the skin color, it could be the way the person dresses. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be a reason for it. But I think for us to move over into the next society, right now we're a planet, we're not even a planetary society. We have to understand that we are so low in terms of what the cosmos, we don't even have a united planet. So we can't even hope to explore the rest of the universe if we're still fragmented into countries with imaginary borders and imaginary territories that don't really exist in the world. I mean, coming from a country where we've been at war with an opposite country that used to be one
part of your country. Yeah.
We were one country until the British came and decided, yeah, no, we're going to draw a line right here with a pizza cutter, and that's going to be the way it is. And it's caused 100 years of war. And the thing is, and that's not even a Hindu versus Muslim thing, because there's Indian Muslims that hate Pakistani Muslims.
Oh yeah.
And that's just a nationalistic idea. And for us to get past any of these things, we have to kind of strip away all the things that are unnecessary. And we don't have to believe that everything that we read in the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, all that stuff doesn't have to be rigid. You can read those like people read the Iliad and the Odyssey. These are stories that you can take your own interpretation of. You can understand what they were trying to say and the lessons they were trying to teach. None of this.
Don't get me started on the hero's tale, bro. You need to save that for a whole other episode. The hero's tale is some of the greatest shit ever, and
agreed.
I won't even. All right, anyway.
Absolutely, and I mean, I've spent some time. I've read I've read parts of the Bible because I was interested in it. I went to so when you're growing up in India, the best schools are generally Catholic schools. So I went to Catholic school from my early education. So we had to read the Bible, we had to go to Sunday Mass. It was just part of going to school. And one of the things that there's a lot of similarities in the stories that we hear from religion to religion. Even though that they are different characters, different backgrounds, the story of Krishna is surprisingly similar to the story of Jesus.
Yep.
Born in a shed, basically, during a storm. He was meant to be the Messiah. He goes through his own problems at the end, and the endings are of course different, but the stories and the things that they try to teach are very similar. And you look at a lot of these ancient civilizations, they were just trying to teach people to do the right thing. That was the whole point of this. And if that's how you want to interpret religion, great. Just don't cause harm with that. It's a double-edged sword. It can heal and it can also cut.
Tim, what do you think?
As far as the meaning of life or religion?
Whatever.
I mean, well,
easy response here.
Yeah. So it's challenging because I'm still trying to figure out what exactly my path in life is. I grew up Lutheran, was baptized into the church. I went to a public school for the majority of my elementary. I ended up going junior high through high school at a private Lutheran school. So it was interesting.
I didn't know
experience.
that.
Yeah. So, but even as part of that, with having specifically like the Lutheran doctrine of Christianity as my basis and upbringing, I have since more swayed towards a non-denominational Christian. Like, I believe in God. I believe, in the Bible's teachings, but one spot that I differ in, as you were speaking earlier about like the 7 deadly sins, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so the purpose of Jesus coming to earth, from God, being born of man, but still part of God, speaking as like a triune God, 3 in 1. You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy
Mhm.
Spirit speaking. So he came down, was crucified on the cross, and he died. I understand the necessity of the law that's taught in the Old Testament, 10 Commandments. And I feel like a lot of Christians today still take the law super serious, right? So God sent Jesus coming down here to absolve us of our sins because we are inherently born into sin. It goes back to the fall of man with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. But as far as the New Testament teachings go, so you have the Old Testament, which is the law, the New Testament, which is like the gospel and kind of forgiveness, the grace that God has. And one of like the most important commandments is to love your neighbor as yourself, right? To treat others with kindness, love, respect, and decency. It doesn't matter the walk of life that they're on, the religious backgrounds they may have had. Everybody has a variety of struggles within their life, but that doesn't specifically mean that you should treat them differently. I've had, friends of different beliefs, friends who were gay or lesbian or LGBTQA plus throughout that community. I don't treat them any differently because of how they feel. I may not agree with them, but face it, I mean, we are all people. We don't agree with each other on a lot of topics. It's kind of the big basis of this podcast, to have different viewpoints come together and talk about this. So even from those upbringings, having that different experiences I've had in my life through different career changes, seeing the world through different lenses, I then went to a public university where I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, a science which is heavily against pretty much all forms of religion, because psychology is a very interesting science to look into, because you can't specifically see in the brain type thing, like you can't specifically see God, to some sort of aspect. It's all, I guess an understandable term would be a theory, right? We all have theories about things. Religion, doesn't matter the religion, is a theory or a hypothesis of what occurred. Psychology is a theory, hypothesis of what's occurring in your mind. What leads us through these thought processes that we have, what helps us or guides us to believe or not believe what we do. And I think it's an important fundamental of science, because our brain is still unknown. It's uncharted territory for the most part. We have ideas of what regions do. So I guess meaning life means different things to different people, different upbringings, different life experiences. And I'm still on that journey trying to really figure out what that means to me. I think someday I could get married. I could have kids. I hope I would be a great dad to those kids, maybe even great grandpa. There's some grandkids down the road, trying to bring them to be the best person that they can be. Or if the road takes the other way and I stay single, I still hope that I can strive to be the best person I can be and help others become that through whatever means of assistance I'm able to bring, whether it's supporting them through struggling times or assisting them with critical conversation to spike curiosity or interest, or to make them dive deeper into their beliefs and why they believe what they do. I think these questions are all important. And one thing that, like, specifically for me, like Christianity, a lot of basis are like, oh, well, you're a Christian, so you think, you take everything at the word that it's spoken, in the Bible, you take it very strict. To me, especially creation, there's the theory that a Big Bang occurred. There's a theory of creation. There's all sorts of theories out there. So I believe in creation, but not in the aspect that it literally took 7 days, right? Time is man's creation. Here on Earth, it takes, 365 days to rotate, make 1 year. It takes 24 hours to make 1 day, but that's different on every planet. That's different in different solar systems. It's different if you have 2 stars at the center of your galaxy or your solar system. Time is all relative onto where you're at. Time to God means nothing. And, so the universe could be billions of years old, but in reality, it may be, who's to know what a billion years is? Who's to know what specifically a day is? Like I said, a day on Earth is different than a day on Jupiter or Saturn or Venus or Mars. We all have different days. We have different years. Age progression is different. Lifespans would be different. So I think that though he said he created all within 7 days, I think the interpretation of that was written in a way that someone who's reading it could understand on a human element about time. Because if we can't comprehend something or bring something into a level of understanding that you can go out and teach and allow people to question and find understand or meaning in it, you would lose everyone.
That's really interesting that you say that, because that's kind of like what we're trying to do here.
Yeah,
really.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's a book I don't know if you guys have read. Dan Brown is a good author that I like. I like his books, and there's a quote from his book, From Angels and Demons, where he talks about how science and religion kind of interact with each other, where basically I'm gonna synopsis this. It's not completely accurate to what he says. Basically, there's certain things that science and religion are not enemies, because a lot of times people like to politicize and say you can only believe in science, you can only believe in religion. You can't have an intersection of that. So science and religion aren't enemies. There's certain things in science that sometimes science moves so fast forward that it doesn't take the time to think and reflect on what it's doing, right? So there's certain things that science can explain to us, and the things that religion can explain are the things that science cannot. So it doesn't mean that one's right or the other one's wrong. It basically means that they have to work in parallel with each other, because we're always going to wonder what the unknown is, right? We're always going to think of stories for the unknown, because with science being so relatively young, I mean, you think about it, science really only started during the Greek era. And that is so close to us compared to the origin of human species that it's not even a nanosecond on the cosmic calendar. So there's certain things that science is so young that it's almost like a young child, right? Young children will go out and do stuff recklessly. They won't care about it. They're always experimenting. They're always trying stuff. Religion's like the older person that is basically telling them to slow down, take a step. Are you doing the right thing? And it's basically it's a back and forth. It's a discourse that really should happen. I think the problems come with when people are like, science is right, religion's wrong. And if you do it in the way that you're going to be so bullheaded with science, you're going to cause problems. And we see that daily. We see things being rushed that shouldn't be rushed. Scientists doing things that, with good intention, that end up being terrible for the world. I mean, you hear about Oppenheimer when he created the atomic bomb, right? When that atomic bomb went off, he realized the implications of what he has just done.
Yep.
He said, "Now I have become the god of death." That was his quote during an interview after the science testing. He understood at that point that he went so bullheaded into this thing that we are now at an age where weapons that will destroy entire cities are basically holding the world hostage.
Scary.
And I think, you're right too. Like, there's an aspect of, because I firmly believe, I love, like, the James Webb Telescope just started releasing, or NASA started releasing photos taken of that. I honestly think that's absolutely fascinating. To the religious perspective of it is, look, these are the heavens that God created. Not necessarily like once you die, that's not the heaven you go to, but God created all. Like, these are the heavens. This is the earth where we're at. So seeing those images scientifically absolutely blows my mind in trying to process like what we're seeing, and like, yeah, that's out there.
Yeah.
Religiously, I'm like, God created that. So the scientific part of me is like, wow, we've reached a point in our society, in our evolutionary process as humans, because I'm talking more like microevolution here as far as generational knowledge, to be able to get to that point. And I think it's absolutely fascinating, and it's kind of disheartening when speaking with Christians who are very hard set in the creationary literal 7 days, because there's so much out there. Even religiously, could God have created it in the literal 7 days? Sure. But I also think that he would have created things with history, right? Nothing would have been created as a seed or as an egg, or, there would have been fully grown trees there that would have been populating the earth. A new animal species they would have created would have been the full, mature, reproductive adult. Because why would you create a baby? A baby can't take care of itself. But then, on the other hand, speaking science, when science can't answer a question that you have, whether it's because we just don't know yet, because science inherently is questioning everything. You may or may not find an answer. That's why you question it. And so if science says, well, what's the answer to this? And they say, well, we don't know. Okay. Like that doesn't really give an explanation of anything. And I think that's where a lot of religious people can say, like, look, see, you don't have an answer to that.
No.
And like, God is the answer to these questions. And, so to some aspect, things I can't answer, I rely on faith.
Yeah.
And at some point, like, we may have an answer to it. We may not. We may come to that in my lifetime. We probably won't. But there are processes, especially historical, like, where did the earth come from? That specifically can't be answered in any definite, I guess.
There's no absolutes, right?
Yeah, there's no absolute to it. Yeah.
Ken, what do you think?
About the meaning of life?
Whatever.
Whatever. No, so the religious conversations I attempt to stay out of, only because I think that anything that draws a line in the sand between one individual and another is like super toxic, in the regards that it can create super aggressive conversations. But my brother-in-law is a pastor. My family is super religious, Christianity of some sort. I don't know the denomination, but I wholeheartedly believe that religion can, like, it gives you faith. It points you in a direction, like pagan, any sort of type of religion gives you like kind of a base to, like, kind of, I don't know, platform off of to like do shit. Like it like
Right.
gives you like, all right, these are things. This is a thing I'm going to do today. It gives you like kind of a regiment, right? On Sunday, I will go do a thing every Sunday. Let's say, right? That gives you a thing to do, or per se. If you're gonna like, all right, I'm gonna astral travel as a pagan in like on this day of Tyr, Thursday, or whatever the hell, like fucking Thursday, Odin's Day, Wednesday, whatever that is.
Right.
Like it, like literally, it gives you like a kind of a regimen that like it can take you out of your, I don't know, the humdrum of the everyday. So I do respect religion. I don't follow any particular religion. I'd say, is it being agnostic where you believe in a higher power but you don't believe in any specific power?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't follow it, so I don't actually know. So I believe I follow more under the agnostic. I believe any and all faiths have their like grounds. Like when you look at religious texts, like in Christianity or whatever, you can say it was rewritten 1,000 times because it was. You can say that any religion has changed several hundred, several thousand times from when it was initially created, unless you're like talking about the spaghetti monster, which, you know, you can go with there if you want, but that's a lot more recent. But it's whatever you believe in, right? So that's where, like, when I think about religion, I think about the most recent creations of it. I think about the earliest creations of it and how many times it's changed in that time frame for what I want to believe. And I was like, you know what, shit, I don't believe in anything particular. There's something out there that's way bigger than me. And I'm not going to say that I'm an atheist. I believe atheism would be your more don't believe in shit. Is that right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's me asking those questions because I'm drunk with questions and you guys aren't drunk and you have answers. This is bullshit. I'm the only one that's drunk with questions on this podcast titled Drunk with Questions. So I'll just let that be known. As I stare off to the distance and let you guys know about what my meaning of life is from the simplistic state that I exist in. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it in this current state. I had a lot of thoughts on it at previous times in my life. Like I lived in a place where I thought that I was going to marry my high school sweetheart for when I was 16, dated the same girl for 4 years, thought that that was the direction I was taking. That direction didn't pan out. Literally the next individual I was romantic with thought I was going to marry her. 2 years later, same thing, didn't know where I was going with. So as that has progressed in my life, I've had these years where I've been trying to figure out what my direction is, what my meaning of life would be. And for simplicity's sake, what I've adopted to my most recent idea, when I have time, what is it? It's I forgot who the fuck the quote is. It's I want to be free. I want to be free to want to do. When I'm gonna get loaded, I want to have a good time. Fuck. Actually, you know, I'm gonna Google that.
I think that
real
was
quick
Mick
so I know.
Jagger.
No. It's a one sec.
Oh.
Just what is it that you want? Just what is it that you want to do? Well, I want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. We want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time. And that's what we're gonna do. And then in parentheses, away, baby, let's go. It's apparently a song called Primal Scream. I did not know that. That's where that came from. I know it from a movie called World's End. It's the Coronado trilogy, which includes Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End.
Yep.
Great movie series. But that line from Gary King in At World's End always stuck with me. So just I want to be free to do what I want to do. And that's like kind of more or less what I boil my meaning of life down to, is I don't want to be held down by things that like I feel forced to do, or like I don't want to ask to do something that I want to do. Like if I want to fucking do it, I don't want to feel like I have to ask permission. I don't know if that's like an American thing or an anything or whatever, but like that's something that I hold very dear to my heart. Is if I decide that I don't want to do anything all day on my day off, I really don't want to, and I'm going to do it because that's for my mental health or whatever, because being in a stressful profession, it's kind of necessary to unwind, do whatever. But like anyone in general, I feel like everyone should have that freedom to choose what they want to do at any point. Not to say that like that doesn't, I don't know, enforce a laziness. Like you should be able to, you should still do shit to be rewarded with that do what you want to do thing. Like, you can't just live off the system. You can't just do nothing and expect something in return. But at that time, that is your time. The meaning of life is kind of just being able to experience life the way you want to. Like, if you're a person who wants to travel a lot, who wants to see the world, who wants to learn a new language, who wants to interact with someone on the other side of the world, like, let's say that's your time off, that's what you want to do with it, that's amazing, and that's something that you should do. But like, something that I want to do is just like be chill and like kind of do my own thing. Doing what you want to do when you want to do it is fine and all, so long as it doesn't get you in trouble. So my whole outlook on being in that state of mind or whatever, get loaded, having a good time, so long as it doesn't infringe on other people's rights or their existence, right? So you can get loaded, you can have a good time, but if you're affecting someone else's good time, that immediately ruins the good time fucking law, right?
Yep.
So well, there are no laws in having a good time. Some people might say there are some specific things. Just like if you're not being an asshole, like when you're out and about, you're having a good time, it's cool. So you're not drinking and driving, you're not, slamming into a car with an OWI or like DUI and killing a whole freaking school bus worth of kids because you decided you were going to drink.
Then you come meet
It's
us.
happened. It's happened. Like, oh, I'm going to fucking go drink at the bar and we're going to drive home. I'm having a great time. And then like, next thing you know, you're running into a school bus. Like, let's just say it's in the mid-afternoon. I'm a night shifter. Time passes differently for me, right?
Yep.
So you guys would say like, oh yeah, I'm only driving at these times. Anyway, no, so long as your good time doesn't infringe on someone else's good time, that like goes back to religion too. You can have religion, you can have all these very structured things about your life, so long as it doesn't affect anyone else's good time. So that's where my goal comes in whenever it comes to my, I don't know, lackluster, be it lackluster, be it just lackadaisical or relaxed lifestyle. If your religion doesn't affect someone else or doesn't affect your views on them, that's cool. If your religion does, that's a problem, in my opinion. As soon as it's the line in the sand concept, right? Like, everyone can draw a line in the sand somewhere, and if someone crosses it and that makes you uncomfortable, that's super unfortunate, and that ruins everyone's good time.
Yeah.
When it comes to like just the concepts that have been introduced, the woke culture, for instance, anything and everything that creates this, I don't know, that line in the sand concept. I'm going to keep going back to that. It creates a thing that makes you feel different than everyone else and that they have to follow it. That's fine and all, just so long as it doesn't cause problems and that you realize that it doesn't cause a problem. It's not your problem. Like, screw that, man. Like, if someone wants to identify a certain way, if you can't get along with it, but it then causes a problem, that it makes an issue. But like, I can't remember all of it, to be perfectly honest. Like, I drink a lot, right? I'm the only one carrying this drunk with questions or whatever the heck the podcast is called right now. So when I'm super intoxicated, I have individuals that I've known for 10, 15 years that have decided that their identification, the way they're identified, is different. And when I call them by what I've known them as for 10, 15 years, while being called out on it, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm sorry, that's my bad. But if that truly affects them to the point where we're not going to be friends anymore, that makes it a problem, right? Like, it's an honest mistake on my part, but if someone's going to draw that line in the sand and be like, you crossed it, that's super fucking unforgivable. That's the kind of stuff that, like, when my meaning of life comes into play, I just want everyone to realize that, like, the lines in the sand, this is going to sound super fucking interesting, but like, it changes, man. Like, the waves come in, the waves come out. It moves all over the freaking place. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's why I love that concept, is that it actually moves. Like, the wind comes, the water comes up, washes it away, and it's now not visible anymore. It's just all about who you're with and who you're around. And like, if someone's super aware of things like that, good for them. But like, me personally, I drink way too much to be always aware of that kind of shit. And like, it's not done out of a place of hatred. It's done out of a place of like, this is, I don't know, this is the way that I'm sorry that you've been a mister for 10 years of your life, but now you're a ma'am or whatever it may be. But like, I don't do that on purpose out of a place of malicious context. I just do it because like, that's the way I've known you. And I'm very sorry that I forgot, but I also don't want to be targeted for that, because I don't care. It doesn't affect, I don't see you any differently. Like, I'm not trying to be aggressive about it. It's just because maybe I had like an extra glass of whiskey that evening, and I do apologize, but like, it's those kind of things that like when you want to get loaded, you want to have a good time, and when the meaning of life comes into play, you just got to let people live by their own rules to the point where it doesn't affect anyone else's life. And that is where you get your problems, right? And going back to any in a like a criminal standpoint, you have gotten maybe way too loaded, you have way too much of a good time that it has affected someone else's life in a manner that is super negative. That is where the line ends, man. But if you can get loaded, you can have a good time, and you can enjoy your conversations, you can enjoy your time with any person that you're around. Like for the tavern atmosphere, for instance, I love the tavern concept. I'm also a person who loves to play D&D. I love to run D&D campaigns, and the main connecting concept of every D&D campaign, most, not every, but most D&D campaigns, a lot of things end up in a tavern. And you want to know why that is? It's because people can connect there. People can have a good time there. People can discuss things there. It's like the place where things happen, right? So that tavern atmosphere where you can connect a group of people from different walks of life. Like, I've been a guild master in several MMOs. Like, I try to solve problems before they happen. I'm a corrections officer. I try to solve problems before they happen, right? You have that ability to have that charisma to discuss problems with people and try and stop problems before they happen, right? So it's all about being able to meet at this playing field where everyone can sit down at a table, have a beer, have a drink, and discuss their problems, but not do so in an aggressive manner. So like when Tim talks about religion, when Spicy talks about religion, when Nick talks about his previous experience, when Raj talks about religion, when anything, any topic, I just hammered on religion really hard there, but like any topic can be brought to a table with a bunch of people having a beer, having a drink, and you can discuss it as individuals, whether you be identifying one way or the other. Who gives a shit at that point? You're all sitting there having a drink, but you can take turns and discuss these problems. That's what my meaning of life is everyone be able to come together and talk about their own issues, but not be judged for them. And everyone has a good time at the end of it. That is one of the main driving factors of why I really enjoy this podcast, this idea that this discourse, as Raj has put it more than once, is that you can have that discourse, but what smooths that over is a social lubricant like alcohol. So y'all better get on my fucking level next time, is what this boils down to. Because man, the tavern atmosphere, there is no better atmosphere than a tavern atmosphere. Everyone sits there. Like, I don't know if everyone's been to a Renaissance Festival before, but like there's some fucking crazy people at a Renaissance Festival. For whatever reason, you can have a beer with them at a Renaissance Festival. Some of them are right wing, left wing, like whatever the heck ideals they have, some of that melts away under alcohol, at least a little bit of it. Not all of it. It kind of, while it does dull the senses, it also makes you a little more open, and you can, like, you know, and some people it doesn't end well. It ends up in freaking brawls, and you know, people just beat the shit out of each other. But that's people that decide that like maybe that's not what I do again. But the people that can handle that kind of situation where you get loaded and you can have a good time, you can discuss these topics and not as passionate. It's not like you're losing passion. You almost become more passionate in some aspects, but you become less, I don't know, not responsive. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Less aggressive towards the other ideals that are being introduced into a conversation.
Reactive.
Yes, less reactive. But in some cases, again, more reactive, because some people just need alcohol to start a fight. That's all they need.
True.
But sometimes you need some kind of social lubricant. You need something that brings a bunch of these ideas together so that you can discuss them in a manner that isn't aggressive. And like, whether you're friends or not, or if it's some random stranger that comes up into this, say, tavern atmosphere, you're there having a good time. They sit down at your table. There's three of you. They're the fourth person that sits down, and you just might accept them at a face value and can have a conversation with them. That, I think, is overall a great meaning to our overall existence as humans. Is like, we need to be able to have a person sit down at our table and not be like, not lean back, but like lean in and like hear their part of the conversation. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to see. And that's more or less what I want to bring to the table with I don't know, my meaning of life, considering that I live alone and hate my life, I guess, and just drink a lot. But yeah, so
Well,
like
that kind of mentality helps in a lot of things. I think what you're trying to
It
get at
does.
is like dealing with family. That's a huge thing that I see parallels from what you're saying to other things. Is sitting down with your family. A lot of times you don't get along with your family or don't see eye to eye, but
True.
being able to sit there and talk about it is
and how many
the
people
best way
had a
of doing it.
healthy
And, you know,
conversation with their parents where they're not feeling uncomfortable? Like a lot of people haven't had that. Some people have.
fucking never, bro.
Not a lot of people have that, but I tell you, my parents, my dad never talks. My mom talks all the time. My mom talks almost 99% nonsense. I love her to death. I love my dad to death. My dad never speaks. My mom talks all the time. So I realize how the relationship works. But whenever we're sitting at a table together and we all have an alcoholic beverage or 2 or 3, there are topics that we can meet on that I would never have expected us to like have a full conversation about, because my dad would say nothing and my mom would talk about something we didn't give a shit about. But it happens that way where then my dad will respond after like a rum and coke, which is his favorite drink, or 2 or 3, and my mom will have a drink or 2, but then they'll actually converse, and then I'm sitting there and I can have a conversation with them. It's that social lubricant sometimes it's necessary to like have these people that and my parents have been, by the way, married for like I think 25 30 years. I believe they got married a year before I was born or a year after I was born. Anyway, they're married for about 30 years. They have these conversations that they almost have never had before under this context, right? Under these circumstances. And it's not a great way to say, oh, we need alcohol to solve our problems. But like alcohol has solved problems since like fucking forever. How'd the pyramids get built? Fucking alcohol. Like how did in the UK? No, yeah.
And
you not know
slaves,
that?
but
And slaves, yes.
No. So look back. So Egyptian history, whenever it comes to quote slaves, they were paid. They weren't slaves.
They were
paid. The people that built the pyramids were not slaves. They had a wage that was documented. They had a documented wage of like a beer a day and a loaf of bread or whatever the fuck. That's not slavery. They had a
That's
wage.
food.
That's
you know, they
survival.
gave,
Food and water. That's food
Yeah.
and quote water. But
they
it was
gave
a
food and water to
documented wage.
slaves here too, dude.
But it was but it was a documented wage which separated them. And some people came to work on the pyramids because they wanted those things. They wanted this, and it was beer. Essentially, the Egyptians, I don't know, for whatever reason, from my knowledge, someone can correct me on this 100%, but it was beer that they accidentally discovered in that time period, and that's what built the pyramids, man. Like people were like kind of tipsy, and they're like, "Shit, yeah, we'll move these big ass bricks up this fucking ramp." Like I'm down with that shit. Like, give me more beer.
So when all these experts
absolutely.
are like, "There's no way these people built this without
It was
alcohol,
built on
it's just
fucking beer.
They're not including alcohol in their equation.
They don't include alcohol. And like when you're looking at any medieval town, I'm sorry, but this is my main basis of knowledge is any medieval town. They fed babies beer because the water wasn't safe to drink.
It's true.
It was like 1 to 2% beer that they had set aside for the children of the town because the water wasn't safe to drink. They couldn't figure out how to get safe water.
Man,
so
the
they
Dark
drank
Ages
fucking
makes
beer.
A lot of sense.
Yeah, all of them had
alcohol
fetal alcohol
syndrome.
syndrome. Literally every single person had fetal alcohol syndrome because you couldn't drink fucking beer. But the best part is whenever wine happened, wine was a lot safer. So like when you look at like those areas that had access to like the fucking moldy grapes, they were like, dang, this is the goodest shit. They had more access. Anyway, it made a lot of civilization possible through alcoholism.
Yeah.
A lot of civilization was built on alcohol, and makes a lot of conversation happen. And if everyone was a little more drunk, maybe we wouldn't have had as many of the Crusades.
That's fair. I really appreciate
Not
your...
as many of those.
Yeah, not as
They
many.
could have been avoided if everyone was drunk and was like,
and
yeah,
on
well,
that note,
you stand
Yeah.
there, we'll stand here. On that note, that's where I digress. My meaning of life, dropping back to the name of this podcast. Yeah, whatever.
No, I love it. And honestly, maybe talking about alcohol and how it shaped humans would be an interesting topic for the future.
I think
Absolutely.
we've brought up a ton of great
I agree.
topics that we could expound upon from this.
100%.
What a word.
Expound.
What a word.
Dang. Hey,
So
how many
we are
crayons
running
have
out
you
of
that come
time
with that
though.
word?
So I'm going to say final thoughts. If anyone has anything to say it now.
Or
Well,
forever hold your fucking peace.
Well, guys, listen, whoever's listening to this, this is, of course, season 1, episode 1 of Drunk with Questions. So this is our little teaser episode for all of you guys to listen to
I'm
figure
not
out.
foreplaying these people. I'll give them the
Yeah.
full juice,
You're
man.
getting the full juice of this. Yeah, no, we're teasing you a little bit with this. You haven't gotten the full girth yet. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, because
That's
I'm the
coming
only
later.
drunk one. So imagine when all these beautiful people
Yeah,
are
imagine
actually
all of us
intoxicated
drunk, yes.
and still
But-
taking turns. But
Yeah, I mean,
We're not gonna talk
This
over
is
each
what we're talking about. This
Never.
is how it's going to be. This is going to be an open discussion. Of course, we're going to have topics and we're going to have some points to talk about, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail than we did today about certain things. This was basically just a conversation, a test for us to kind of figure out how it's going to be. And I think overall we had a great, we're going on 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think, based on the amount of recordings that
which
we've
is going to
had.
get cut down to 15 minutes, so you'll miss all the good shit.
Yeah,
Well, no,
so
and we
15
were
minutes.
we were worried that we wouldn't even be able to fill the time, but I kind of had a feeling in my gut we'd be able to talk. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we're dealing with a lot of different people that have different opinions and different walks of life, but we're still able to have this conversation. This might change when alcohol gets involved, but we'll see that for that in the future.
Yeah, it fucking better. I'm not going
Yeah.
to carry. I mean, I will totally carry this podcast every time when it comes to alcohol. If I need to. I will make that sacrifice for you guys.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any closing remarks to make?
I don't believe so. It's all
I
good
just look forward
conversation.
to all this. Yeah.
Yeah, no. All right. Gooch, take it away. What do we have planned for next week?
well, next week I'm pretty sure that we're going to be talking about secret societies.
My jam.
Yeah, so we'll
Secret
definitely have
societies.
Spicy with us, and hopefully
Illuminati.
some of our other friends can join us as well. I want to thank all 4 of you guys for being here today. It's awesome. Me and Raj are kind of mandatory, so I'm not going
Yeah,
to
we
thank
have
him
to
for
be here.
anything.
Yeah. I'm the average guy here. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You got to
But-
have that balance, right? Modern television, right?
You gotta. But I really do appreciate all you guys. I love you all to death. To all our listeners out there, you can always find us at drunkwithquestions.podbean.com or any major social media website, as well as YouTube. And I'm just going to leave you with this. Stay ordinary, my friends. Have a good one.
Stay ordinary.